Now let's hear more about this. We bring in Kervin Aucoin, the former lead intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance coordinator for the U.S. Army and the host of This Week Explained podcast. Good morning, Kervin. Good to see you. Now, first, we know now unnamed U.S. officials say that Biden gave the green light to Ukraine. If so, what do you think about the timing, reversing long-standing policy basically just 2 months before leaving office? And how much of this do you think is a response to the North Korean troops?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on to talk about this. Well, first of all, it looks like this response, this is, first of all, directly in response to North Korean troops that are in the Kursk region, but it's also a response to the election of Donald Trump. So we have President-elect Donald Trump, who says he's going to come into office and immediately secure a ceasefire in that conflict. If that happens, if that happened yesterday, Ukraine is behind on that. So Russia's got the upper hand in all those negotiations. What Biden is trying to do now is, especially during these cold winter months where not a lot of fighting on the ground is happening, they'll give Ukraine some ability to push back Russian advances and maybe go to the table with some sort of strategic advantage in a ceasefire negotiation. But really, this is because it's authorized because Russia authorized the use of North Korean soldiers to fight in this war. So the U.S. says, why not stop the handcuffs on Ukraine? Let them, let them attack Russia where it hurts.
Right. And before we delve deeper on that, but I'm just wondering with, the U.S. more involved now in North Korean personnel on the ground, what are the risks that you see in terms of expansion of this war? Do you see dangers here for the U.S. as well?
I mean, honestly, no. If you look historically, when I say historically, I'm talking about very recently, the last 2 years. Vladimir Putin has said everything is a red line to him until it happens. Then it's not. So what is the red flag, and that, or what is the red line? I'm sorry. That's what the U.S. needs to try to identify, through the intelligence community and through back channels of what really is a red line for Vladimir Putin, because right now no one knows, and the U.S. needs to decide. Is the U.S. military the strongest, most capable, most agile force in the world, or are they a feckless military that's just going to allow Putin to do and say whatever he wants around the world?
Now let's talk more about those ATACMS for Ukraine and how significant they are. I'm mostly talking about on the ground, but also you just touched on, of course, the advantage that it could give them in the negotiations. If you could go into a little bit more detail there as well, if this is a game changer for Ukraine, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, due to the timeline, no, it's not going to be much of a game changer. And also announcing it, the people within the Biden administration who went around to journalists and actually, announced this, that gives Ukraine a disadvantage because now Russia can start moving those pieces that they did have in place within that 300-kilometer range of the ATACMS missiles. They can now move those back. That infrastructure and those munitions that Russia has can definitely hit Ukraine within Ukrainian area, as well as the Kursk region, which is really heating up right now. And so that, I think, is the most important battle that's going on right now. And if Ukraine can utilize the ATACMS successfully and push back, especially in the Kursk region, and retake portions of that Kursk region, they'll get the upper hand in ceasefire negotiations and possibly have a chance to bring Russia in good faith negotiations. Good faith meaning that it's not going to be all pro-Russia within the ceasefire negotiations, that Ukraine will have some ability to maybe join the EU, maybe a future NATO member. We'll have to see how those negotiations play out.
Very interesting. And on that note, what kind of targets do you see Ukraine could have in mind here? Do you also expect that there are restrictions, though, and conditions placed on the usage of those ATACMS through the U.S.?
Yeah, see, the restrictions are what worry me, because now you're saying, yeah, you can do it further within Russia, but not as far into Russia. What Ukraine would really be looking to hit here are munition sites in Russia that are being used to attack Ukraine. They would like to see military sites with military vehicles and jets that can be destroyed, because those jets are being used to go into Ukrainian areas and hit I think what really happened here is Russia overplayed their hand, and they sent a massive wave to Kyiv over the last couple days, and so that is part of what's going on here and why the U.S. allowed this. But I'd be really interested to see. France says that their munitions, which are even further longer range weapons, that's still on the table for Ukraine to use. And so if France does allow that and the UK allows their munitions to be used, we could see a totally different war come January 25th when Donald Trump takes office.
Right. And on that note, I actually, with 1 minute that we have left, I wanted to know about that. Do you think the Trump administration would continue its support for this kind of policy?
I mean, Trump he's a wild card, right? He says one thing and he may do another. He's appointing Marco Rubio and some other names that were pro-Ukraine and that wanted to push back against Russia. But then he's also looks like his cabinet's going to be put with some people that were less likely to agree to more munitions or more support for Ukraine. We're going to see what happens here. I can tell you during the Trump administration, I continue to tell people this. I was part of an overt anti-Russian aggression campaign in Poland. So Donald Trump's actions in the past has shown he is a bit hawkish on Russia sometimes.
Got it. Thank you so much for your insights today, Kervin Aucoin. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.